Hey guys, we're going to read today, picking up where we left off last week at page 96. What happened the last time we read was that Clotee realized that Mr. Harms knows she can read. He has found her diary in the hollow of the tree and he has put a note on it saying, "I know you can read and write. Please be careful. I will speak to you soon." At that point, Clotee tells Spicy. Spicy encourages her to go speak with Aunt T about the whole thing. So we are starting on page 96, daybreak, Sunday, October 16th, 1859. Please read along with me. Don't make me read to you like you're helpless, because you're not. Here we go. The roosters just crowed. Thank God it's Sunday and not a full work day. Aunt T, Spicy, and me sat up all night talking. There are no secrets between us now. I'm glad in a way. In fact, I'm writing in my diary right here in Aunt T's cabin. At first she was against my learning, but she say now that she was just scared, didn't want me to be beaten or sold away. I will not stand in the way of what might be the Lord's work being done through you, child. She even said for me to hide my papers in her cabin. My diary will be safe with her. I worry that I've made life unsure for Aunt T and Spicy. If they get caught with my papers, we could all be in sinking sand. Maybe Mr. Harms will be able to help. But who is he really? I got some ideas, but I dare not put voice to them yet. Later. Aunt T and Spicy don't think I should trust Mr. Harms all the way, but he hasn't done anything to make me not trust him. I've looked at the one-eyed man's picture over and over. He don't look at all like Mr. Harms, but for after all that's been happening, I think Mr. Harms might know the one-eyed man. Mr. Harms isn't from the Philadelphia, the New York, or the Boston. He's from Virginia. Can a Southern master be an abolitionist? Mr. Harms said in his note that he would speak to me. Maybe I'll get answers to some of these questions then. Monday, October 17th, 1859. Will you teach me to write my name? Spicy asked. I've never really thought about teaching anybody else how to write. I've always been the one learning. I used some poker to write letters in the ashes. Spicy and Aunt T looked on with wondering eyes. For the first time, I've been able to share my secret with somebody. I love seeing them smiling at the letters that makes up their names. I feel warm and good inside. What good is knowing if I can't never use it to do some good? Spicy made an S, and Aunt T made a T. We've had our first lesson. Tuesday, October 18th, 1859. Mr. Harms know that I know that he knows I can read and write, but he has not said a word to me about it. Treats me the same as always. When will he speak to me? Meanwhile, Ms. Lily ain't back yet, so our housework is not as hard, but Mass Henley's been around all week in his study. I couldn't get any ink out. But Aunt T helped me make a mixture of charcoal ash and blackberry wine. It makes a good ink until I can do better. Wednesday, October 19th, 1859. The days are getting shorter and it's cool in the mornings during study time. Today, Mr. Harms changed the study time to early afternoon when it's still hot enough to need a fanner. I would say thank you, but I dare not. He say he'll speak to me, so I got to wait. Sunday, October 23rd, 1859. Mass went to fetch Miss Lily from Richmond. We had the whole day to ourselves again. Trouble is, William wanted to come down to the quarters to the meeting. Mr. Harms thought it was a good idea. Of course, we didn't, but what could we say? At the meeting, Rufus talked about the three boys in the fiery furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Then Rufus sang a song, and we all joined in. I looked over at William and Mr. Harms, and they were singing and clapping their hands too. My God's a good God, it is so. I woke up this morning, and by God's pure grace I go. Yes, God is a great God. This I know. We shared a table the way we always do after service. Mr. Harms took William back to the house in his rolling chair. I stayed to be with Wook for a little while longer. All the smile is gone out of her eyes. I rubbed her feet because they were so swollen. That's when she broke down and cried, saying she hated her husband, Lee. He had got a pass to visit, but came just to say he didn't love her. Lee wants to marry somebody else. Monday, October 24th, 1859. Ms. Lilly is home. Lord have mercy. Mass and Hints left the same day for the races in Charleston. We all been busy washing and ironing her traveling clothes, scrubbing, scrubbing, scrubbing. Nothing suits her, and she ain't stopped going on about how filthy the house is. Tuesday, October 25th, 1859. I caught Miss Lilly in her room at a good time and asked her if I could stay with Aunt T in the quarters instead of in the kitchen. I knew just how to get what I wanted out of her. I say to her, Miss Lilly, I was thinking if you let me stay with Aunt T down in the quarters, I can watch and know if somebody's talking runaway talk. She studied on that notion. You never told me one thing about anybody. Why now, Clotee? I had to think fast and talk straight. I figure if I help you, then you'll give me nice things like you do Missy. That fooled her good. She let me stay in Auntie's cabin, but I still got to work with Eva May in the kitchen and help Missy with the housework. It's a little bit like the way it used to be. Auntie and Spicy and me talking all hours of the night. Now I'll be able to write more often and not cause suspicion. It's nowhere near as warm or nice as the kitchen. When I write HOME, I see here in the cabin. Home ain't a place, it's a feeling of being loved and wanted. Wherever Auntie and Spicy are, that's home to me. Friday, October 28th, 1859. Been working all week. Today's the first time I've had a minute to write. Most nights I just fall asleep on my pallet next to Spicy. We're all too tired to talk, but it's so good being back together again under the same roof, even though it leaks. Saturday, October 29th, 1859. Aunt T has found a way to be useful again. She made herself a job. All the hands in the quarters work so hard they'd be too tired to cook in the evening, so she's done started cooking for everybody. Whatever the folk can rake together, they bring it to Aunt T. She adds it together to make a bigger pot. They come home in the evening to a big pot. Today they had rabbit stew, wild turnips, and hotcakes filled with fixed by the best cook in Virginia. After the last meal, same day, I picked up pieces of talk at dinner. Mr. Harms was telling Ms. Lilly about the Bible he'd found, but he said he'd found it down by the river. Yes, Eva May told me you'd found a Bible and that you're trying to say it belonged to her or Clotee. Why would you think it belonged to one of the slaves and not a member of the big house? Oh, slaves steal so badly, said Mr. Harms. When anything is missing or lost, I always begin with the house slaves. They're the ones most likely guilty. Mr. Harms was sounding like a master, but when I looked closer, the Bible he showed Miss Lilly wasn't Spicy's at all. Mr. Harms was helping Spicy and me, but at the same time finding favor with Miss Lilly. I felt myself smile inside. Then Mr. Harms asked if Miss Lilly knew that William had some feeling in his toes. She didn't know. She never takes time to know about such things. Mr. Harms asked if he could use hot water treatments on William's legs. Say he'd learned the treatment from a doctor over in Washington. Only if Dr. Lamb says it's all right. Then he asked for Missy to help him with the treatments. No, said Miss Lilly. Missy is attending to me. Use Clotee. Mr. Harms knew just how to charm Miss Lilly. If he had asked for me, she never would have let me help. What is Mr. Harms up to? Monday, October 31st, 1859. It's shoe wearing time again. I hate putting on William's old hard shoes. Eva May, Missy, and me just about harvested everything from the house garden and preserved, pickled, or dried it. The collards are ready to be picked, but aunties say wait until the first frost hits them. This is my favorite time of the year. When the summer heat gives way to fall coolness, I can finally get a good sleep. Wednesday, November 2nd, 1859. Hits and Miss Henley come back home winners. They also had a fine new horse, a beauty, named Canterbury's Watch. He's not as spirited as Dancer, but Hintz says he's a strong runner, steady. Hintz calls him Can because he can run. Ms. Lily came out on the porch, took one look at the horse, stepped back inside, and slammed the door. It was good to have Hinz home, although he spends most of his time with the horses. I miss hearing him laughing and how the sound floats up to the kitchen from the stables. I told him I was staying in Aunt T's cabin down in the quarters, but I still work up in the kitchen and big house. I'm glad you're with Aunt T, he said, somebody to see after her. Then Hinz surprised me with a piece of red satin ribbon. It was as grand as anything Miss Lily owned, and it was all mine. Didn't have to slip and play with it. Hinz say he bought it with money he won, betting on himself. I was going to wait until the big times to give it to you, but I couldn't wait. How do you like it? The word came straight from my heart and burst out of my mouth. Beautiful! Whenever I write Beautiful, I see my red ribbon. It makes me feel pretty and like I want to dance and dance. Sunday, November 6, 1859. Hinz bought Spicy a measure of cloth and Aunt T a comb for her hair. All three of us wore our gifts to meeting. All the women in the quarters was jealous, but Missy was so mad she didn't stay through the whole service. Rufus talked on love. Love is not jealous, he said, winking at the three of us. I should have been ashamed of being so proud of my red ribbon, but I wasn't. I just held my head higher. Monday, November 7th, 1859. Missy come in the kitchen waving a white handkerchief with purple and yellow pansies on each quarter. Lord, who has that girl gone and told on? Tuesday, November 8th, 1859. Missy told Miss Lily all about the gifts Hinz had bought us. Mad because he didn't bring her nothing back. Miss Lily took it straight to Miss Henley. Miss Henley rang the plantation bell. All of us come running to the front of the house. Miss Henley lead us to the stables. Oh no, somebody was getting ready to get a beating. When Mass grabbed Hinz, my breath cut short. How'd you get money to buy gifts? He asked Hinz. I use the eating money you give me to bet on myself to win. And I win, he said, not feeling like he'd done no wrong. Miss Henley reached out and got a buggy whip. Where'd you get the idea you could slip behind my back and place bets? He told Hinz to lean over and hold on to the wagon wheel. Hinz couldn't believe he was getting a whooping. Neither could I. But, Mass, I didn't slip. I placed the bet free and open. Miss Henley beat Hinz, gave him 10 hard licks while we was all made to watch. I closed my eyes and balled my hands in a fist so tight my fingernails dug in the heel of my hand. I wanted to holler out when I heard the swish of the whip hitting my brother friend's back. Everybody knew Hinz was Miss Henley's bread and butter, filled his pockets. If Hinz got a beating, then what would old Mass do if we got caught doing anything? Anything. It didn't have to be wrong, just something he didn't like. Miss Henley promised never to give Hinz eating money when they was out on a trip, says he could starve to death. Wonder how Missy feels about herself now. Was getting Hinz a whooping worth that ugly handkerchief? We used to let Missy get away with fighting and hitting because we thought she was pretty and all. I even wanted to be like her. But if being pretty means being that ugly inside, then Lord, let me stay plain. Aunt T always say, what go around, come around. Missy got it coming for what she did. Wednesday, November 9th, 1859. Aunt T took care of Hinz's wounds. The buggy whip cut his skin, but not as deep as a cattle nine. Hinz was shamed at first, shamed of being whooped in front of everybody. Being a winning jockey didn't help him none. Miss Henley beat him just the same. Spicy and me tried to cheer him up by talking about Miss Henley in the worst way. He felt some better. I could see it in his face. One day, when the abolitionists come, they will stop all this beating. I wonder how far off that day is. Friday, November 11th, 1859. It rained all day, a slow rain, turned cold afterwards. Ms. Lily called me to her room. Then we went up in the attic. There were all kinds of boxes up there, things I'd never seen before. Dresses, coats, hats. It smelled of old and the dust made me sneeze. Ms. Lily opened a creaky trunk and pulled out a pair of shoes and a dress that must have belonged to her daughter. She handed them to me. I had never had no real shoes or pretty dress, just a plain white pullovers Auntie stitched up for me. Your mamma made this dress for my Clarissa when she was a girl. Now you can have it. I quick put the shoes on. They were a little big, but much softer than William's big shoes. My toes had plenty of room and the sides weren't rough and hard. I put the dress on. It felt like it had been mine all along because Mama had made it. I buried my face in it and tried to smell Mama, but it just made me sneeze more. Miss Lily was almost a person, but I had to keep my wits about me. She wasn't nice just to be nice. She was up to something. When I showed Auntie and Spicy what Miss Lily had give me, they looked at me with wondering faces. I didn't tell her nothing, honest. They believed me, but warned me to be careful like. All right, that's where we're gonna stop today. You guys have 16 questions to work on for that sheet. So get to it. Please use a separate sheet of paper, or you can email me your answers at mbeckman@lmslancers.org. You need to use complete sentences. I will be giving you a reading grade for if you got the question correct. I will also, be giving you a writing grade for how well you write your answers. Don't just be saying his, her, him, they. Use proper names and include the question and the answer. Okie doke. All right, love you guys. I will talk to you later.